welcome back. You're watching KBC Business Insight. Now, Kenya has a 2.6% annual population growth rate, with about 41% of its population being under the age of 15 years. That means that most of Kenya's dependents are more than the working age group. To discuss how this can be turned around to benefit the economy is Dr. Josephine Kibaru Mbae. She is the Director General of the National Council for Population and Development. Welcome on set, Dr. Mbae.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. Now, maybe we can start off. What is the mandate of NCPD?
Yeah, the National Council for Population and Development is a state agency within the National Treasury and Planning. And our mandate is to coordinate all aspects of population issues in terms of programs, in terms of implementation of the population policy. And when we talk about population, it's very broad, it's very multi-sectoral. So we deal with a lot of other government agencies as well as civil society and NGOs.
All right.
Yes.
When we talk about Kenya's population, how is it structured and how is the economy benefiting from it?
Well, currently our population is heavy at the bottom. You know, if you look at the pyramid, we have a lot of young people. Over 80% of our population are below 35 years of age. Right. And a little bit more, over 60% are below 25 years. Mm-hmm. So it means we have a lot of young people who are actually dependents. Most of them, of course, between like maybe 5 and 18, 20 are still in school, maybe up to 24 years. So they are dependents by virtue of being in school. But you also have a large proportion of those who did not transition from primary to secondary and so forth, who are out there looking for opportunities and certainly being part of being dependent on other people. Mm-hmm. So our population is very youthful. In fact, the median age in Kenya right now is 19 years. So most of the people are really very young, and it is now time as a country, mm-hmm. we need to see how to reap from these very huge numbers of young people.
Okay. Yeah. And how do we reap from these huge numbers?
Yes, when we talk about reaping from a demographic situation, mm-hmm. We are talking about, okay, ideally we should have a population growth rate which is much lower than what you said, right. You know, 2.6. We talk about having a population and growth rate which is just replacement level, mm-hmm. and that is about 2.1. So we are just replacing ourselves. But as a country, you can see we are way above that, which means they are more dependents than the actual people who are, you know, engaging in economic activities. So for these young people to be of use and to contribute to the economic development of the country, there are actually about 2 or 3 ingredients which are necessary. Okay. First of all, we need to invest in their education and the right type of education. I mean, it's so nice and good to have degrees and so forth, but these young people need to come out of these institutions of higher learning being able to be employable. So we are thinking more about skills development rather than just education. And that's why you see one of the things the government is doing currently is to invest in the technical and vocational institutions so that young people actually get skills, mm-hmm. whereby they can even employ themselves or employ others, not necessarily dependent on having a job per se. The other ingredient, of course, as a country is making sure that the opportunities are there for employment, right. or for job, you know, for creating jobs for this huge population. So we are talking about you know, the agriculture sector, the manufacturing sector, all these other sectors, investing in them that in such a manner that there's possibility of young people getting some kind of, you know, some jobs or creating jobs within this sector. For instance, if you look at the economic survey, which was launched last week, mm-hmm. by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the sector which was growing fastest is actually the agricultural sector. Mm-hmm. So as a country, we need to be looking at how then do we entice our young people, or what innovations or what should we put in the agricultural sector so that young people don't see agriculture as that old mama digging with a djembe, right. And you know, kind of shun away from that sector, because that's the one growing fastest. So we need to be making sure that our young people are into these sectors ICT, for instance, innovations. These are things which young people are able to get into and, you know, even create jobs for themselves and for others. The other sector, of course, which is critical in reaping a dividend, is making sure that we have a healthy population. And also the fertility is going down. So investing in family planning, making sure that couples are getting the number of children they are able to take care of. And also remaining healthy in terms of investing in the other aspects of health. Because, I mean, we need people who are healthy to be able to work, you know, and contribute to the economy. And also we need a family which is able to take care of itself and not, you know, looking for support from left, right, and center, as currently is happening in some parts of this country. Of course, the other sector is what I see in job creation through the different sectors. And the fourth component or ingredient of reaping a dividend is actually strengthening the governance system. You know, issues of corruption, reducing corruption so as to make sure that the opportunities are there for these young people, whether they are in Mandera, whether they are in Kibera or Kiambu or Washingishu. They have the opportunity because they have the skills and they have gotten this, you know, they have reached a certain point where if they go for instance, these youth funds, you know, it should not be who knows who. A young person who wants to put a SIPA should be able to go through the mechanism without, you know, being curtailed by all the corruption and those things which go around some of these issues. So governance and reducing corruption is critical to actually reaping a dividend. And you've seen the government also investing a lot in this sector also.
Okay.
Yes.
You've mentioned among the pillars of the dividend is the health sector, specifically the reproductive health sector. Sure. Just tell us more on how that can be used to improve the the demographic dividend rather.
Yes, now when we talk about reproductive health, it's very broad, you know, and especially issues of young girls and women, you know, is very critical in terms of economic growth of a country. Young, you know, teenage pregnancies, which has been an issue in the past, in this, I mean, it's been reported all over the media in the recent past, means that these young girls have been exposed to early sexual onset, so they are pregnant, they miss opportunities in school. That means they cannot reach their potential in the future. So investing in reproductive health means that they need to have education, they need to have the information so that they're empowered, you know, to make the right decision so that they can be able not to get pregnant until they are ready to get pregnant. And if they do get pregnant, then the services need to be available to them, reproductive health services, you know, antenatal care. For those who are even young mothers, they may need contraception so that they don't get a second pregnancy. Issues around family planning itself, you know, making sure that these services and commodities, you know, all the method mix are available for women and even men, right in the village, you know, through community health frontiers or through community health distributors, in the dispensaries, in the health centers, so that a woman who wants to space their children are able to access these facilities at their nearest facility, you know, so that we don't miss the opportunity. Because, you know, if, for instance, you know, maybe women go to the market and use that opportunity also to go to the clinic, because maybe their partner may not be very happy about, you know, engaging in family planning. So they use that opportunity. So if they go to a health center and they want to use, for instance, an injectable, and it's not there that day, it means that's a missed opportunity. They go back, maybe come next month, by then they may be pregnant. Right. So making sure that the systems, the health systems are strengthened so that the facilities, the medicines, the methods are available where the common wananchi are. I mean, it's all nice and proper to have them here in high hospitals, but we know 80% of our people are in huko mashinani.
Right.
Yes.
Now that you mentioned the teenage pregnancies, I can't fail to ask this. What are your thoughts on the proposal to lower the age, the sex consent age from 18 to 16?
I think that's extremely misguided. From where I sit, a 16-year-old girl is still a child. Our constitution defines who a child is. And I'm not sure where this is coming from. I know I have heard this because, young girls are engaging with sex with young boys, and so young boys are being, put in jail for sexual harassment of these young girls. But I think that is, very short-sighted, because you find that most of our young girls are molested by much older men. These are the young girls who, when they have undergone female genital mutilation or circumcision, they are sold off by their parents to old men, 45, 60-year-old. So lowering that age means that this will be regularized. Fathers will have the opportunity to indicate to their 16-year-old girl, you go on and get married because we want cattle, we want camels, and so forth. So I think the court needs to deal with what is the problem. It's a moral issue rather than a legal issue from where I sit. Let's find out why are these young people engaging in sex at such a young age. Let's give them the proper information. Let us also empower the boy child to see the consequences of getting into some of these situations. Right. And let us also empower the families, because these things must start from the families. Why a 11, 12, 13-year-old guy is engaging, or boy engaging in sex, means there is disruption in the normal family, the way families are supposed to operate. Right. So I think we need to go back to the basics rather than try to solve a problem by making it, kind of disadvantaging the girl even more by saying that they're a 16-year-old woman. Okay. These are still children.
Okay.
Yes.
Of course, empowerment begins with access to knowledge, and civic education is very important. Yes. What is your agency maybe doing to ensure that this information, even away from reproductive sexual health, sexual education maybe for children, even the matters of reproductive health reach the people in mashinani?
Yes, one of our mandates as the National Council for Operation and Development is to conduct public education. So we do this through, we have pamphlets, we have policy briefs at high level, we have, like I said, pamphlets, which we have people in the counties. So they work with the chiefs, they work with the Maendeleo Wanawake and such organizations to make sure that this information, is disseminated to the mwananchi right at the lower level. We also, of course, engage with the media, like we are engaging now with you. We also, my people or my officers in the field, engage with the local FM stations, to try and continue educating the people on all these different aspects of population, because it's really broad. It's not just about reproductive health. Okay. Yes.
Allow me to move to another pillar of the demographic dividend that you mentioned.
Yes.
Of course, job creation is inevitable.
Right.
Let me engage you on some statistics here. Unemployment rate in Kenya is at 7.4%. Yes. The highest being the 20 to 24-year-olds, that is at 19.2%. Even for those who are employed, underutilization stands at 62.1% from 15 to 29 years. How can we turn around this situation so that the jobs that we create are being maximized to benefit the economy?
Yeah, it's very important that, we don't think of jobs for the young people like those low-paying jobs.
Right.
And I think that is why those statistics don't look so nice. People think more of young people maybe doing casual jobs, kazi kwa vijana, those kind of things. Yeah, those kind of things. Right. I think it's important as a country that we invest in areas where young people can actually make money. I mean, the issue here is what kind of jobs are the young people getting? And that's why I was saying, investing in agriculture. Agriculture can be very, lucrative, especially if using using modern mechanized agriculture, support from government and government agencies who are actually supposed to assist to make sure that the seeds are the right seeds. We don't rely on rain all the time, so we are talking of irrigation, and getting young people to use mechanized agriculture, which is enticing and interesting to young people. And then they make real money, not the kind of, things which the figures are showing now, which are not very, very good. The issues around ICT also, I think that's an area where young people can be able to get or to, to make reasonable amounts of money, if they engage with innovations. And we've seen some of the innovations which, young girls and boys in school or those in colleges are actually showing. Mm-hmm. So if they are supported so that these innovations actually end up being real jobs for them, mm-hmm. So we need to be, as a country, not to imagine our young people should get Ferrari jobs.
Right.
Yeah, otherwise, then we just perpetuate the cycle of poverty.
Yes.
Yes.
And the graduates who are being churned out every year, it's about 50,000 on a yearly basis.
Right.
They are coming in and they are getting desperate to look for jobs. Capital is unavailable. What is the government doing to better this situation, really?
Yes. Yes, that is why you find that the government has also gone into changing the curriculum, mm-hmm. The school curriculum, because like I said, there has been a tendency to just get graduates who have more theory than practice. Yeah. So you find even in the job market, they are not very marketable, because in the private sector, it's like they need to be trained before they can actually now begin assisting the company to make money.
Right.
And private sector isn't waiting to train people. So one of the things the government is doing is what I said, the curriculum reform, so that those who actually end up in university, that is their line. But there are other opportunities, right from the lower grades, where people can go into where they have the talents, music, whatever, so that they can actually engage at that level. The other thing the government is doing is to provide internship, internship opportunities, and they're in partnership with the private sector, so that when the students are still in colleges and universities, they actually get to intern or to be attached in some of these institutions, so that they learn. Mm-hmm. They learn how things are done, even just a basic thing, how letters are written, right. Depending on which career they are in, so that by the time they actually get out of this of the colleges, they are employable. They'll just go and get on with it, rather than spend another 6 months or so, being trained. So these are all opportunities the government and the private sector are working together to try and make our youth more employable, because the alternative is not very good. Right. We have a lot of young people who have been radicalized, mm-hmm. all the kind of things which we have had. Kids are disappearing from all over Kenya, not just some parts of Kenya, mm-hmm. and they end up in funny areas, Al-Shabaab and so forth, because they are educated and they feel educated, but they can't make money, right. And they can't depend on their parents forever. Right. So the alternative to actually job creation and investing in our people, mm-hmm. are negative aspects like those ones.
Okay.
Yes.
Another negative aspect, of course, is corruption.
Oh, yes. Yes, corruption, using every possible means, mm-hmm. to make ends meet.
Yes.
Yes, especially, like we said, we have these funds, the youth fund, we have some other funds, which the government has given opportunity so that young people can access credit. So if you can't access it the right way, then you find that some of these things, become problematic to the country.
Yes.
Yeah, and we perpetuate the corruption which we wish to eradicate.
Of course.
Yes.
And they discourage the youth from even going for these opportunities in the first place.
Yes, because they know they won't get it anyway if they don't know somebody.
Right.
That's why the other ingredient of reaping a dividend, mm-hmm. is strengthening governance, uh-huh. and getting rid of corruption. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that it's actually a level playing ground. It doesn't matter where I come from, doesn't matter who I know. If the opportunity is there, we compete on a level playing ground.
Right.
Yes.
What are the benefits of demographic dividend to a country?
Yes, now we've learned from the Asian tigers. Mm-hmm. They invested in these things in the early 60s. In fact, like Kenya and South Korea and even Singapore and the rest, in the 60s, we were at the same level in terms of fertility, in terms of GDP and so forth. But they invested in the right places. For instance, fertility in those Asian tigers, as they are called, came down very rapidly, mm-hmm. because they knew that it is important to be able to have the number of people the economy can sustain.
Right.
So that was very key in their development. And then, of course, investing in industries, you know, China and the others. You see, they have lots of industries where there are people, they are in billions, but they are engaged and they are able to actually make money, you know, and improve as a family, as a community, and of course, as a country. So it's really important that we look at where others have been and learn from them.
Right.
And of course, we know at some point they have also gone beyond, you know, and are going into the negative aspect of population, you know, where they are having too many old people and less of the young people. So there are lessons to be learned. But we need to learn what made them reap a dividend. And one of them, of course, is reducing fertility, investing in industries, making sure that the health sector is well taken care of, so that the people are actually able to engage in economic development activities.
All right.
Yes.
As we close, just give us your closing remarks in 30 seconds, please.
My closing remarks is that young people are wealth. We need to invest in them, and we don't have an option if we don't invest in young people and in the right places so that they can get engaged and contribute to this economy. Then the option is some of the things we have seen in the past, the negative things, Al-Shabaab and so forth, radicalization, and we cannot afford to do that as a country.
Right.
Yes.
Dr. Josephine, thank you very much for your time and discussing the demographic dividend. We hope that we get there one day, one time.
Very soon we will get there.
Very soon we will get
there. I think we are in the right track.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Invest
much.
in the youth. That is the message from Dr. Josephine Kibaru Mbae, the Director General for the National Council for Population and Development.